So the question of the day is Apple completely throwing us all under the bus when it uses ChatGPT on the new iPhones, like on the iPhone 15 Pro, 15 Pro Max, the 16 series? Are you being stabbed in the back by Apple because they have ChatGPT as an option to be used with Siri? Well, the best way I would say to answer this question definitively for those of you who are kind of still wondering is to look at the actual documentation that Apple provides on the phone itself. Now, when you go, like, let me show you. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go to settings, okay? We're gonna scroll down to Apple Intelligence and Siri. We're in here, scroll down. Extensions, ChatGPT, okay? So you have an option to use ChatGPT with Siri and you click setup, and basically what it does is what it says here. ChatGPT can help you write text, create an image, answer questions and more. And then you can go to OpenAI's terms of use. Forget that bit for now. What we're going to click on is about ChatGPT extension and privacy. Look at what this says. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I just want to give you some general idea because this has got to be, I would imagine, legally binding because it's literally under like the official information provided to consumers. So ChatGPT extension and privacy is designed to keep you, the extension is designed to put you in control and enable you to choose what to share. And it gets interesting because it's going to make a distinction because of what Apple allows OpenAI to, what stuff OpenAI has access to. When Siri uses the ChatGPT extension without a ChatGPT account, and what OpenAI gets when you just, you sign in with their account. So you can choose to enable the ChatGPT extension when using Siri, writing tools, and visual intelligence with the camera control if available. Of course, this is an iPhone 15 Pro, it doesn't have that. The ChatGPT extension can help you answer questions, etc. You can use the ChatGPT extension without an account. If you have a ChatGPT account, you also can choose to connect your account with this extension. This is by choice, guys. It's not automatically connected to your account, okay? Using the ChatGPT extension. Before any info is sent to ChatGPT, you have to enable the ChatGPT extension. Now, this extension is off by default. So just because you have iOS 18.2 and you have an iPhone 15 Pro, 15 Pro Max, any iPhone 16, does not mean that your Siri is automatically allowed to use ChatGPT, okay? So you've gotta enable the extension. It's off by default. Enabling it allows you to send requests to ChatGPT and Siri, writing tools and visual intelligence with the camera control if that's available. You can choose to disable the ChatGPT extension at any time also by following the following settings. Now, this is where we're gonna get to the important part. When you use Siri to access the ChatGPT extension, your request will be analyzed to determine whether you are explicitly asking ChatGPT to process a request. So for example, if you explicitly ask ChatGPT to perform a task, such as saying or typing, ask ChatGPT to write a poem, these requests will then be sent directly to ChatGPT. So Apple isn't throwing you under the bus. You have to explicitly say it. So you've given, you're using Siri to access the extension and you're literally telling it to ask ChatGPT, then it will do that. If there is no explicit request to use ChatGPT, your request is going to be analyzed to determine whether ChatGPT might have useful results. If it does, Siri will ask whether you would like to choose ChatGPT. So this is like another safeguard by Apple for, your privacy in a way. If you choose, Siri will send your request to ChatGPT. No, don't activate. Stop. And present the answer directly. You also can choose to disable Siri, asking you to confirm whether Siri should send a request to ChatGPT by the following settings, okay? When you use writing tools and visual intelligence, etc., you can also choose, you'll be able to choose whether you would like to use the ChatGPT extension for each of these features separately. Here, okay, look, using the ChatGPT extension without an account. If you access the ChatGPT extension without an account, only the request and attachments like documents, photos, or contents of the document will be sent to ChatGPT to answer your request. OpenAI also will not receive any information tied to your Apple account. Your IP address is obscured from ChatGPT, but the general location is provided for purposes such as enabling ChatGPT to prevent fraud and comply with applicable law. So like this is a legal bit that like no one has control over, neither Apple nor OpenAI. OpenAI must process your request solely for the purpose of fulfilling it and not store your request or any responses it provides unless required under applicable laws. Again, this is not under control of Apple, I would think, nor OpenAI, as far as I would imagine, okay? OpenAI also must not use your request to improve or train its models. Sweet. So this is how using the ChatGPT extension through Siri without signing in to your account functions. This is how it works. Apple is not stabbing you in the back, but it is giving some information, obviously, to OpenAI in the context described. It's not going to store your request or any responses, and it's not going to use your request to improve or train its models, all right? Now, when you're using the ChatGPT extension with a ChatGPT account, you can choose to create a ChatGPT. You see how they emphasize choose here? You can choose to create a ChatGPT account or sign in to an existing account. If you are a ChatGPT subscriber, you will be able to access paid features from your Apple experiences. So that's like it's going to be upscaled a notch, okay? Because you're accessing paid features. When you are signed in, though, your ChatGPT account settings and OpenAI's data privacy policies will apply. So now you're on OpenAI's turf in a way, probably more, right? This means OpenAI may log your request, attachments, and session history, and use this data to train or improve their models. To learn more about OpenAI's privacy practices, good luck to you, visit this. So that shows us the distinction between enabling Siri to use the ChatGPT extension without signing into an OpenAI account, or being signed into a ChatGPT account, or being signed into a ChatGPT account, and things are going to have more features. The paid features are going to be available to you, but then your information is going to be worked on based on OpenAI's policies. If you're using ChatGPT, the ChatGPT extension through Siri, if you enable that, and you also choose to enable that, if you choose that, then without logging into a ChatGPT account, then things are treated differently. Apple kind of keeps your stuff more private. OpenAI can't train on the stuff you give it. It can't train on the responses. Then again, of course, if you're gonna give it a document, a governmental document that has your personal information on it, it's still not gonna store it, but I mean, that's on you, right? So this clarifies, I would imagine, the distinction between what Apple is doing when it lets Siri, when you choose to allow Siri to use a ChatGPT extension, or when you're signed in with a ChatGPT account and it shows you how different it is. And shows you that, is your privacy completely gone down the drain if you enable the ChatGPT extension without signing into a ChatGPT account with Apple? No, it's not treated the same. It's not going to be the same as being signed into a ChatGPT account. Some people won't care, some people will. You've got to decide for yourself which one you are, but I think other than clarifying that bit, hopefully that's clarified now, other than clarifying that bit, I want to just touch a bit on what led us to this place in the first place. What led us here is that Apple is behind on AI, okay? And they can say they're not, but they're behind. As far as any normal consumer can see, if you look at the offerings being offered by competitors and by what Apple's doing, by having to partner with OpenAI to do whatever they're able to do, everything that I can see shows that Apple is behind. They would have not done this if they weren't behind. I think there was an interview maybe with Mr. Who's the Boss and two Apple executives or something, where he asked them if they're behind on AI or something like that. And they probably, or at least one of them was shrugged it off. I was like, haha, no, we're not, we're fine. Don't worry about us, kind of thing, no, you're behind, and it shows. And the reason you're doing this is because the reason you partnered with OpenAI, I would think, is because it was one of the strongest selling points for other competitor devices, is were their AI capabilities, and you can't do the same on your own, so you had to partner with OpenAI. You had no other way of using this selling point to sell iPhones. Now, of course, you have to do what you can to sell iPhones because this is the majority of Apple's revenue. Is that a healthy thing for a company from a business standpoint? No, it's not. When, from a business perspective, if the majority of your revenue comes from one product line, not like a bunch of them, that's a problem. That's a problem. And that's what made them dance to OpenAI's beat, perhaps you can say. Now, whether all of this artificial intelligence stuff that you have is beneficial anyway, that's up for debate. I really don't think it's beneficial at all. But also one other thing that will clearly show you how behind Apple is in terms of AI is the cleanup feature on their photos. It really isn't that great. It can handle things that are simpler, better, but things that are more complex in some photos, it does not handle very well. So the moral of the story, or the bottom line, is things are more private if you're using the ChatGPT extension through Siri without logging into a ChatGPT account. However, what got us here is that Apple is behind on AI.